Welcome to our new Retail Razor Show, Blade to Greatness. Our new standalone Retail Razor Show, where we hear from a retail industry leader who shares their sharp insights and cuts of wisdom on how to excel in this dynamic and competitive field. In this series, we learn about the essential must-have skills and qualities that every retail executive needs to lead their teams and their business to success.
Whether we're talking about HQ or stores, we'll uncover valuable tips and advice that every retail leader can apply to their own retail career path, raising your blade to greatness.
I'm your host, Ricardo Belmar.
And I'm your co-host, Casey Golden. We'll speak with Jeffrey P. McNulty, founder and CEO of the Retail Ethos, creator of the Ultimate Retail Course and author of the Ultimate Retail Manual. We'll learn from his 30 years of hands-on industry experience as the executive leader for the Home Depot, Lowe's, Barnes & Noble, PetSmart, Shopko, Toys R Us, Publix, and Festival Foods, plus 18 years of experience as a retail research analyst, having conducted over 1,000 consultations with clients on Wall Street, hedge fund managers, equity investment partners, retailers, and entrepreneurs in the retail sector. Jeffrey has a myriad of experience and knowledge, wisdom when it comes to retail leadership.
And today he's here to talk with us about one of the most important skills every retail leader needs to master: how to foster an environment of intrapreneurship. Let's listen to what he has to share with us.
Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor to be on the Retail Razor Show, and I'm really honored to be here. So yeah, foster an intrapreneurship. I'm very passionate about that. As anybody that follows me on LinkedIn knows, I talk about this probably about once a month. There's a quiet trend going on around called quiet quitting, and there's a pun intended in there. This is when an employee or leader consciously decides to start putting in the bare minimum work effort or silently checks out from putting forth their best results. This trend is accelerating throughout all industries because many employees and leaders are feeling burned out and stressed out. World-class organizations create an inclusive environment where entrepreneurship, creativity, and autonomy can thrive and flourish. Entrepreneurs are exactly like entrepreneurs without any of the risk. Entrepreneurs can safely work within an organizational structure while creating innovative ideas and solutions that elevate the brand. Imagine having an army of entrepreneurs within your organization that are excited and motivated to become seminal trailblazers. I created an acronym called GAP, which stands for Growth, Autonomy, and Purpose, to provide a blueprint to my retail and business clients on how to ramp up their efforts to actively embrace entrepreneurship. Here are a few of the basic principles for executing my GAP strategy. Under the growth, we have succession planning. This is where it all starts. This is the meat and potatoes of the entire strategy. Are you strategically mapping out each employee and leader's future within your organization? You got to have a plan for each employee and leader's future within your organization. And you don't have to do that just at times when it's the performance appraisal, because some performance appraisals are only yearly. So you have to do next is daily check-ins with your employees and leaders. A lot of times leaders will check in with their employees, but not with their leaders. In some organizations, the leader is kind of like off to the side. They're an afterthought because we're paying you, you have more responsibility, you get bonuses, stock options, etc. But you got to remember, employees and leaders both need check-ins. And here's the question: are your leaders consistently performing this behavior, which helps build and strengthen employee bonds? There's nothing more important that you can do as a leader than to strengthen employee bonds by doing the daily check-ins. Next, you have providing challenge and work. Are you challenging each employee to engage in meaningful and fulfilling work? Do your employees feel connected to your organization? Next is competitive wages and benefits. This is huge right now because I'm happy to see a lot of retailers and businesses raising up their minimum wages and starting to be more competitive to reward the employees that are going to work. Are you respecting and rewarding each employee's value and efforts to your company? And here's the key: are you leading from the front or you're leading from the back of the bus? You're either a leader or you're following. There's no in between. Next, we have the A stands for autonomy. Flexible scheduling options. Are you providing scheduling options that are flexible with your employees? Are you implementing a mild hybrid remote working option? Think about when leaders are writing performance appraisals, employees are completing e-learning modules, employees and leaders are preparing for an event or a presentation, conference calls, Zoom meetings, etc. One of the hardest things I found as a leader working in retail for all those years was having quiet time to actually prepare for succession planning for my employees, my leaders, writing appraisals, because as a leader, you're going to get interrupted 5, 6, 7 times in an hour easily. And let's just say you're writing a performance appraisal and you got a train of thought that's going. And next thing you know, they say, hey, Jeff, we got a customer issue up here. We need you up here. There goes your train of thought. You got to come back and start all over again. It's not fair to the employees. It's not fair to the leaders. Next, you have empowerment. This is where you can build an army of entrepreneurs throughout your company. Do your employees and leaders feel that they can attempt new things? And can they wade into uncharted waters to elevate your brand? This is paramount. Do employees actually feel that they can attempt new things? You talk to a lot of retail leaders and you talk to a lot of business leaders and they say, yeah, we're all for that. We're pushing for the entrepreneurship. But you talk to the employees and they're like, I was starting out on something that was very creative. I made one minor mistake and I felt really like I was being insulted and put down, and I didn't feel like that I wanted to do this anymore. So you ruin the employee's confidence right after that. There's going to be some mistakes and some growing pains. No, you can't make the same mistake 5 times, obviously. Next, you have trust and respect. Do you trust your employees to make the right decisions, or do you punish them for their errors? We just talked about that. Employees need to feel that they can make decisions, autonomous decisions, of course, within the structure and organization and protocols of the company. And then if they do make those errors, you're not going to drop a load of bricks on them. And then finally, in this segment, you have inclusion and support. Do all of your employees feel included and supported to maximize their innate talents and gifts? Do your store leaders actively embrace each individual and place them in positions to succeed? That's really the key when you're getting to know your employees. You find out their passions, you find out what they like to do, and then you place them in positions where they're going to have maximum success because it's something they innately want to do and they're good at. And then under the P for purpose, we have foster entrepreneurship, which we've already talked about. And the key here is, are your employees allowed to express their creativity? Do you seek their input or ideas on how to improve the brand? That's key. You can always tell, I could always tell if a leader was really involved in this. When they were having meetings, they would seek opinions and ideas on things. And even if ideas came up that weren't congruent with what they were thinking, they remained and had an open mind and were approachable for those ideas and expressions. Tap into employee leader and intrinsic motivation. We talked about that. That's important. We could have an entire show on just that one segment. Next, you have in community involvement. This is a slippery slope for a lot of organizations. Are you actively engaging and supporting your local communities? And this is key here. Many employees become detached from a brand if leaders are being disingenuous about their commitment to serve in their local communities. And finally, you have volunteering. Do you support employees' volunteering efforts, or is it merely lip service? So one of my favorite silver linings from the pandemic was a resurgence of appreciation for frontline workers. We must remember, I always preach this from the rooftops, that all 4 segments are important: customers, employees, leaders, and vendors. A lot of businesses and brands, they think about the customer and the employees, but they leave out the leaders and the vendors. And all 4 segments have a symbiotic relationship and will determine the failure or success of each organization. The Great Resignation is the big brother of quiet quitting. And far too many retailers and businesses took their frontline employee workers for granted and overworked their salaried leaders. Our society is in the middle of the pendulum effect, where energy has to be rebalanced now. And the pendulum/energy will eventually fall back into perfect balance, which I call homeostasis. I recently posted about how I implemented a 4-day work week with full-time employees at Home Depot in 2001. Now that was 22 years ago. And the question I would have is, why hasn't this inclusive and rewarding trend caught on yet? So I applaud Lowe's for recently offering this scheduling option, but it's something that you do, and retailers can do this. When I first thought about doing a remote working option for employees in the retail, I thought, it doesn't sound like that's going to work. You need employees on the floor. They need to pack out the freight. They need to ring the registers. But then I thought, but you could do a mild hybrid version of it for writing reviews and doing stuff like that. There is a way to, I discuss this more in the book and then in the online courses. And then as an added bonus for all the listeners of the Retail Razor Show, I'm offering a $100 off discount to all listeners for the Ultimate Retail course. All you have to do is enter Retail Rockstar 100 off at checkout. Go to the ultimateretailcourse.com. And for any of my consulting services at New Retail Ethos, you can go to newretailethos.com.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Jeffrey. That's amazing. So one of the things that strikes me from what you described is I think a key component to this is that your employees have to feel that not only is their creativity welcomed? But I think there has to be a lack of fear of failure. And I would imagine that maybe that is perhaps the toughest part for the retail leaders you work with to accept, that they may not be used to the idea that it's okay if you let your employees be creative, you let them take something on, but maybe it doesn't work. But to your point, there's a difference between, okay, you try and it didn't work out, then you try something else, versus I keep trying it 5, 6, 7 times and keep failing.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up, Ricardo. One of the things that I wanted to do as a leader, first and foremost, I generally love people. As you know, I love to engage with people on LinkedIn, and I love to get to know people and learn about them. That came from my working in retail for all those decades. But I fostered an environment where I allowed people to not view it as a mistake, to view it as a lesson. It's only a mistake. I used to preach this. In fact, I had some buttons made up one time that said, it's only a mistake if you don't learn the lesson. And that was to send a message to every employee and every leader in the stores and district that, you know what, we're all going to make mistakes, but the key is it's only a mistake if you don't learn the lesson. And that's really the key to make sure that people feel that support and that comfortability with you, that as a leader, one of the hardest things for me to understand and realize is, as when I was a store leader of 400 employees in a store doing like $70 million a year, is that you cast a very large shadow, and everything you do is being watched by employees and leaders. And you almost feel like a celebrity, not for me, the celebrity part being the fame and all that, but everybody's watching everything you do. They're watching your interactions. They're watching how you handle a customer issue or an employee issue. They listen to how you talk about other employees. Are you gossiping? Are you sharing information that's sensitive? They watch what you do, and they find out, do you have character? Do you have integrity? If I divulge a secret to you, are you going to keep that secret? Or are you going to share it with your circle, your clique, that type of stuff? So I would foster the environment where it's okay to not be able to complete something, or you learned a lesson along the way. Now, the key is you got to have consistent improvement, though. If you want to tackle something that's very creative, make sure that it's something that they're very passionate about. Number one, we've talked about that. And number two, make sure that they understand that just continual growth is good. You're gonna have some dips, okay? You're gonna fall in the ditch a few times, get back up. And I used to always ask whenever they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake." I'm like, no, we're not there yet. What did you learn? Tell me what you learned from what didn't work out right. And as long as they learn something from that, I'm like, it's not a mistake anymore. Now it's a lesson. Now, we can't make this same lesson over and over again. You got to learn the lesson the first or second time. But the key is that the employees need to feel comfortable that they can do this and express their creativity. Because I tell you something, when you have 400 people in your store and you're only one person, you're not going to have better ideas than all 400 people. It's not going to happen, no matter how smart you think you are, no matter how much knowledge you have, no matter how many years of experience. I talk about in the book 5 different biases when you're doing performance appraisals. And one of them is called tenured biases. And these are when people have tenure with an organization or in a position, and they're not receiving any more information coming from anyone. I know it all. I have confirmation bias. It's in full swing. And I'm like, I don't understand. Just because you had 10 years in this position or with this company, who's to say that you know everything? Nobody knows everything. And these people weren't approachable. They weren't accepting new information. And it destroyed the whole vibe in the store or in their department. So I'm really passionate about this, as you can tell. We could go on and on, but I know we have time limits. So
no, thank you for sharing, Jeffrey. I mean, more retailers could really amplify entrepreneurship opportunities. It's definitely something that I don't think I've ever experienced in an organization so much as a defined initiative.
Yeah, that's something and you worked in retail for a while, Casey, and it's prevalent through a lot of the retailers. It's a win-win. You can't lose with this. If you explain the structure, you explain the protocols, the employees have the support and the inclusion. They're allowed to make some errors every now and again. Again, they're not mistakes. They're only mistakes if they don't learn. But I mean, think about it. You have 400 people in your store. You could have 400 entrepreneurs. Now, granted, there's some people that have some outlandish ideas that just don't align with a brand or something. And you have to reel them in a little bit from time to time. I mean, but you got to remember, it's because they have that passion. And to me, it was, my stores were on autopilot when it came to this, because people felt like they could really express their creativity. I positioned them. And this is why I didn't like leaving stores after a while, because I got the store running. It's in tip-top shape. It's like a NASCAR. The engine's running perfect. Your times keep getting better. It was perfectly smooth and oiled, and everybody got along. And then you go to a new store and you start all over again. But that's the challenge. And I was known as a cleanup guy, a fixer. They wanted me to go into tough areas and tough stores and fix the morale. And that's the first thing I worked on, is the morale of the store. Pull all the leaders aside and say, listen, guys, we need to make sure we're working together as one symbiotic unit. And we need to have one message, and that's we care about the employees, and we got to show it. But you're right, Casey, intrapreneurship, you got to have leaders that genuinely care about people, and they got to put their ego aside, because a lot of leaders I worked with, they felt that if the idea didn't come directly from them, that their employees or leaders below them were going to upstage them. And I would pull them aside and say, no, you got to remember, they're a direct reflection of your leadership. So when they come up with great ideas, it's reflecting positively on you. So they elevate, and then you get elevated because you're elevating the employees and allowing them to express their creativity. It literally is a win-win, but I've worked for some leaders that there was zero creativity allowed, zero autonomy, zero intrapreneurship. And I said to myself, I can't wait to be a store manager or district manager so I can finally implement the ideas that I know are successful. Like Jeff said, they said, Jeff, what do you love about being a leader? You know, the extra money and the stock options and the bonuses. Don't get me wrong, that's great. I'm not gonna lie to you. Who doesn't like that? But to me, it was I can finally make the right decisions now to help people. And because I cared about people and I wanted them to succeed, I said, ego, you're gonna sit on the shelf for a while. You're not needed right now. This is the time for the employees to shine and other leaders to show what they can do. And it never failed me. Every single time, it was always a win-win.
Great insights. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
If you've enjoyed our show, please consider giving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Good Pods. Remember to smash that subscribe button in your favorite podcast player and tune in on YouTube so you don't miss a minute. I'm your co-host, Casey Golden.
Please share your feedback with us on Twitter at KCC Ricardo_Belmar, and at Retail Razor, or find us on LinkedIn, Threads, and Instagram. For the best highlights from each episode shipped straight to your inbox, subscribe to our Substack newsletter for full episode transcripts and bonus content. I'm your host, Ricardo Belmar.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep cutting through the clutter and stay sharp. This is the Retail Razor Blade to Greatness.